Hello, 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 and welcome back to the 12. This is a show about the Women's Super League, aka the highest division of women's football in England. We're here to discuss all things WSL, both on and off the field. Each week, we'll be breaking down games, showcasing stars, and highlighting important stories surrounding the game. My name is Tom, and I am here with my co host Deepti, Marc, Treb, and today it's all about happiness.
Happiness, everything else. My life, no stress. Fine boy, no ex.
Listen, it's been very
I wonder
apparent.
what that's for.
We can't start talking about this league um without starting to talk about the main topic. Like
Say it.
announced
Say it with your
I
whole chest.
what was that? Was that I believe that was Monday. Manchester City parted ways with Gareth Taylor. They cited a dip in league form, which they're not wrong about because the form in the league had in fact dipped. Um, Especially after a draw at West Ham. There are rumors that after the West Ham match, that there was a shouting match between Gareth Taylor and Bunny Shaw about the result of the match. Um, yeah. Um,
So we know who won that one.
yeah.
Right?
Well,
I
well,
mean, if the rumors are true,
well,
we know who won that one.
yeah. So, and like, I've said this a couple of times. I think so. You know how like when you would go out like in public with your mom, or you would go over to one of her friends' house, um, or if somebody would come over to your house, and your mom would say the last thing that she would say before you went into the place or somebody came into your place was, "Don't embarrass me in public. Don't embarrass me in front of company."
Mhm.
And I think if you look at Gareth Taylor's resume, you see a resume of embarrassing me in public. You can go back to the summer of 2022 when he ran off an entire midfield and a former Ballon d'Or winner. I mean, I'm not sure that she was necessarily that player when she left, but you chased off four very good players. Um, you look at being walked down by Chelsea twice in your tenure, after having like being first in the league a couple of different times. That's embarrassing me in front of company, embarrassing me in public. You look at um, the just this season alone. If I were to look at, okay, we're gonna go play the Manchester Derby in the Etihad. It's a big match, you know. We're a better squad than uh, United. We've been like projected to do well, and then you let Ella Toon score a hat trick on your head at the big house. At the big house, you embarrassing me in public. Um, you have the racial abuse that Bunny suffered online, and then you have his non-comment comments. You really embarrassing me in public. You have Chloe Kelly, who who might be considered a national hero in the fact that she's the first one to help bring it home since 1960 something, right? So um, she has to go to Instagram to say, I can't change how other people treat me, but I can change, or I can do something about how long I will allow it to take place. Um, you're embarrassing me in public. And then like, and Treb, you might be able to speak to this since you're a little bit more tapped in with that club than the rest of us. But when you have Mark Parsons come out and say, yes, more than likely Sam Lady's going to be the interim manager, probably through June. We have our eye on a couple of coaches. They might not be available until June. And Gareth Taylor's name has been linked several times to Angel City, and I've from people I trust, I've heard conflicting things, so I really don't know the answer to that.
Well, I mean,
but I think part of that, but that's just like you're embarrassing me in public. Like,
well, you want to talk embarrassing? Like, his name was mentioned, and it was a firestorm here in LA with fans basically saying, you know, if he's anywhere near this place, riots will happen. You mentioned conflicting reports. Yeah, so he was a person that was reached out to early on in their processes, but they've not. After he was let go with City, there was the obvious, like, you know, instant reports of, well, he's going to Angel City now. No, that's not happening. You know, there's been a couple reports from people that I trust, and I've talked to people that I obviously trust. He is not in consideration at all for that job. So, you know, that should tell you all you need to know. That the mere mention of his name here in Los Angeles caused such panic that the club had to be like, no. We're not hiring that guy. Don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, I would panic too. Like, I made the shout out to Emily Higginbotham. Go check out her podcast, Sending Off. I mentioned to her, can you imagine him trying to have a conversation with Sydney LaRue? Him trying to have a conversation with Kristen Press? Him trying to have a conversation with Sarah Gordon? Like, we've already seen this movie. We know what happens.
We would have seen Alyssa Thompson on the bench, a la Chloe Kelly. We would have seen, you know, Kennedy Fuller trying to play the 6. We would have seen, I mean, you know, we probably would have seen Giselle Thompson in her center back era. Like, it would not have been a good experience under him. And I even said it publicly. Like, I did not try to bite my tongue on this. I was like, if you hire him, you're going to be staring down a 4th manager in 4 years if you're Angel City. So, but again, like, you know, that's just coming from someone who, like you said, kind of that knows Angel City and knows what they need in order to earn back a lot of the trust that they're starting to lose with fans. But it's also a lot of me knowing the WSL and knowing that Gareth Taylor is absolute garbage. So
this is the same guy who had Roosevelt and Sam Mewis in the same.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
and basically squandered that. Didn't use them appropriately, but I maybe it's like an NWSL players thing. Like, he doesn't know how to use them, so I don't see him in the league.
So come to an NWSL team, yeah.
That's right. Exactly. It's like, in a way, I kind of want to see it just to see how bad it would be, but I wouldn't do that to the players. I don't.
And
I think
the connections were there because of Parsons' connections to the WSL and that area. So, like, I can understand why people would say, like, oh my gosh, well, that's the latest manager gone. Angel City are saying they're waiting for June. That kind of almost obviously points to a coach from Europe in some capacity. So I think that, you know, there's obviously going to be that quick connection there, but no, he is. You will not be finding him with Angel City. I was going to say in Los Angeles, but I don't know. You know, he might be headed to Broso for all I know. Like, I don't know, but it won't be Angel City. I know that.
I think he might show up at the BMO, but it won't be this season. It'll be next season when he's named the coach of Denver.
I was about to say.
That's another story completely.
Or Boston. Does Boston have a coach yet? They seem to be making all the wrong moves. Do they want to make it 10 for 10?
Ooh, that's a choice.
Too many balls, FC.
Hey. I'm going to stop right there.
Right? Marc, I do want to get your perspective on this. Like, Charlie made a really good point when I talked to him yesterday. Is like, this is probably the most important run of fixtures in Manchester City women's football history. Like, and they're all 4 against Chelsea. Like, what, as a Chelsea supporter, like, what are you kind of feeling like entering into this span of 4 matches, knowing that there's a caretaker manager in place?
Mixed feelings, I guess. You know, so like my initial reaction was, oh great, Man City are going to get a new manager bounce, right? And they're bringing back somebody who, I mean, it's been a while. It's Nick Cushing, right?
Got that old thing back.
Yeah. None like rebounded with an X, right? After the
Charlie called him spin the block dude.
God.
I will say, just to bring it like full circle, LA connection, Nick Cushing was actually one of the first names kind of rumored last season for the men's side for LAFC, when there was a lot of rumors and hearsay going around Steve Cherundolo possibly heading to the US job. Nick Cushing was a name that was connected with replacing him here in Los Angeles. So just to keep that theme, kind of bring it full circle. So yeah, go ahead with that.
It's like the U.S. and England. If you've ever seen that meme video of the bottles being slid back and forth against the table, across the table, that's American and English soccer right now. But so the statement I thought that was released by the Man City sporting director, I forget her name.
Therese Georgian, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, she, there was the emphasis on the league form, right? And so I'm wondering then, is that like the main, focus? I mean, obviously, like you play the games as they come, and obviously you take Champions League seriously, but I do kind of wonder what the mentality of, I guess the manager really is, and the club, because you have to figure that finishing top 3 is like the main goal for City, right? For like that's why you do this move, right? Especially now, this late in the season. So, but I will also say this. I'll go back a little bit to the beginning of the season. Obviously, this is Bon Pastor's first season. There was some skepticism. There still is among some Chelsea fans. I'm not as skeptical, but I didn't expect her to like be unbeaten at this point or anything, right? But I remember just feeling like, okay, you gotta at least be better than Gareth Taylor, be better than Jonas Eidevall, be better than Marc Skinner. Like, I just need you to show me that you're better than these guys. And she's already seen off 2 of them. So, I guess job done, right? Like, but yeah, I also want to make this point too. Like we talked, I think a couple of weeks ago we were kind of talking about like the league and how not competitive it is this year. And, it was kind of like that, almost like concern trolling, like it's the WSL non-competitive, what have you. But the point we made was this season is an anomaly. And I think a big part of the reason it is because Arsenal and City are in transition, and so like they both changed coaches, right? And I think both of them are kind of in need of a big summer. Like I think you even saw with City in the January window, right? Like they spend money, they made big moves, so it's yeah, I just I think that's just want to make that point that like both those clubs are in transition, and I don't think we should expect like this huge gap at the top like in the forthcoming seasons. Well, I guess depending on who you hire.
That come next season, Chelsea, like Sonia Von Pastor, will be the longest running coach for these R3 teams, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
The 3. So,
and it's no guarantee Marc Skinner returns.
I was about to say, Marc Skinner might not
Marc
be
Skinner,
she might be the
dean of WSL managers as the longest tenured manager in the WSL, as reported by Emma Sanders. Right? It's like you kind of think about that. It's like, oh,
huh? Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Emma Sanders also did report that Nick Cushing is definitely trying to make a push back into Broso. And the only reason that he took this job as a interim job was because of his love for the club, Manchester City. Which I kind of buy and I kind of don't buy. Like I buy him like I want to get back into Broso. I don't buy him saying like, oh, this is all for the love of the club, because I mean, the Sheik's pockets are long. And I'm sure that there was probably a number that he said, this is it. And he's like, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to just show up at the training grounds every day until you tell me not to.
I feel like that's what he's there to do, right? Like, I feel like, I mean, I don't know, like you can speak to it, Tom, like how you felt about hearing those comments, but to me, that's wild to say. It's almost like, I don't know, it almost feels like, hey, don't get too excited about me giving a shit because I don't. I still want to play. I still want to be on the men's side. Like, I still want to go over there, please. Like, someone please hire me.
Oh, this is quite obviously a situationship. Like, it's like, don't catch feelings. Like,
Yeah,
we are here for one reason and one reason only. That is it. Don't, like, we're not about to get married, not have no kids, none of that. This is a situationship that Nick Cushing and Manchester City Women's Football Club find themselves in currently. And I think maybe saying that from the gate is helpful.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Like, let that, you know,
So
we
on
all
the same
know it's the
page.
truth, but don't say it. Either don't say it or wait until you're like, you know, 4 matches in or something. Like after this Chelsea run and be like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm still interested in the men's side.
Oh, in a way, I think it's better that they said it outright. I'd rather them just be honest and yeah, like this
Well,
is
yeah.
just actually an interim.
But I mean, I guess I just feel like because like anyone that knows Nick Cushing knows that like this is what he wants the men's side anyway. It's kind of like a like he ain't had to say like we know, bro.
So okay, so I believe that we did this when Jonas left, and I am gonna go ahead and open myself up to this, like as like because I'm not really sure what the next step is. Like, I mean, one would have thought that like, oh yeah, we can just bring in the Melbourne City manager, but Brighton already did that. Dario's at Brighton, and Melbourne City's manager is a lifelong Australian, played his professional football in Australia. He ain't leaving. Like, I don't care how big the bag is. To you all, what are some what is one possible name, and what is one name that you would just like, just for the lulz, I want to put that there?
All right, I'll go first. I'll start with my lulz name. Tom Sermani, come on down, man.
Good night. Oh wow. Okay, we're starting our ARRP chapter in London. Okay.
That's how I really feel about y'all. All right, so I'm gonna throw out a name here. And this would be kind of interesting. It's also kind of if you know, you know. But Jonathan Heraldes from the Washington Spirit, you know, if he is looking for work.
I mean, there is a lot of feeling that no matter what, there's a lot of feeling that it's like championship or fired for him, which is crazy to think about given what it took to get him and like them, you know, waiting half a season for him to get there to be like a whole, you know, not even a half year later, be like, okay, win it all or you're gone. But like, yeah, there is that sentiment like that. Yeah, he could be a possibility for sure.
And all the injuries that they're having to deal with, like Croy's still not back, Trinity's still not like 100%. Andy Sullivan's having a baby. Like
Trinity's talking about playing abroad.
We'll get into that later.
We're gonna talk about that in the news.
We're all going to talk about that later. We will all have our campaign pitches. Don't worry. Jesus Christ. Everybody, the entire cast just salivated right now. What you hear is us wading through puddles of saliva.
Right. Correct.
Drooling right now. Yes.
Deepti, how about you?
You know, we've said her name several times. And to be honest, I'm not even sure where she is right now, but Carm Moscato,
don't do it. I was
know,
hoping somebody would avoid saying her name. Don't do it. Please don't do that to me. Don't even let them know she exists. She's at racing still right now.
Yeah, she's still at racing.
She's an assistant at racing.
I know she was an assistant somewhere, exactly.
Yeah.
And she deserves to be not an assistant. She should be a head coach somewhere. So I like her. I need to think about my lulz one though. That's a good question because I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one. But yeah,
I think
real answer, Carm Moscato.
Yeah, I would hate to see that. I would cry, honestly. I would cry. I would legit cry. As a Arsenal fan, I would cry. And as an Angel City fan, I would cry. But I would cry.
Fair enough.
I don't know, like who's out. I mean, you know who you'd probably would be able to get is Tony Gustafsson, maybe. I think if you want to keep that Australian connection going, because he's still one of those managers that's like really, really good. That's still just out there. That nobody seems to like. You hear his name come up every now and then, but like it doesn't seem to really stick anywhere. And I think like you said,
he just took the Swedish national team post, didn't he?
that's
Oh,
right.
did he?
Yeah.
Is he
did.
gone? Oh, well then, never mind. Well then, I don't know. I mean, I don't know who's out there that you could get. But I mean, you're also Man City, so like I feel like you could also do similar to what Washington Spirit did and just get whoever you want with the right amount of money if you want them bad enough, right? So it's kind of like, I think for City, the important thing they have to answer is what kind of team do they want going forward? Who do they want to be going forward? The obvious answer is you want to be a team that wins trophies, but I just mean like, how is it you want to play stylistically, tactically to get there? And how are you going to do so in a way that is, better than Chelsea and then also surpasses what Arsenal may or may not do in terms of their next steps.
So I also have like two.
But for the lulz, I would say Freya Kuhn. How about that?
That was my lulz name.
Oh, is it? I was about to say.
Yes.
I was like, because she's over there in Kansas City already.
She is,
and I know that with the year that they had under Vladko, like she could easily pull I was an assistant for a successful regime.
Where I was like, you see Tim with Chewinga? Look what I did. Look what I did. Like I had Tim with Chewinga. Look what I did.
If both of us were thinking Freya Kuhn, like what if you had?
Oh God! Oh,
you have
as much as I would hate Carm, I would love Freya.
Many things already.
We're only 22 episodes into this podcast, and we have already manifested a lot of stuff. My serious answer, though, is also another NWSL coach. Seb Hinds, come home.
Oh man, that's another. No, yeah, those.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Actually, yeah.
Seb Hinds.
I think Seb Hinds might be
is
in
he
demand
connected
too.
to Manchester? I know he's like English, but is he like? What are his ties in terms of English?
I thought he's from Birmingham.
Okay, so it's one of those like non-big club ties type of person.
Let me.
Let's see.
Middlesbrough,
which is up north.
Yeah, I feel like they would be more Liverpool.
Manchester is before you get to Liverpool.
Leeds and York. Like he's from kind of Leeds area.
I mean, but I don't know. I'm also talking on my ass because I'm not from the UK, so I don't know how their cities relate to each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can't be like here. I could be like the Bay is kind of like the cousin to LA. Like I know that, but like I don't know if Middlesbrough is similar to Liverpool or not. I don't know.
But also NWSL coach who like you said, Jonathan, is like win or go home kind of thing. I feel like Chicago is also not giving Lorne too much of a he has kind of a short rope right now, and so if they don't do well, he also could be an option. I feel like they're not surprisingly. I don't know why. Like they're not giving him too much of a chance, but yeah. And then
I will say that is like
Bunny already have a connection.
I will say that's like the benefit of being a WSL team, right? Where I feel like NWSL teams getting coaches from Europe tend to want to wait until their season's over. I feel like European teams poaching NWSL coaches can just be like, no, you're coming now.
Like come now.
Fuck whatever they're talking about. You're coming now. So
now.
You wouldn't have to wait till the winter for the NWSL season to wrap if you wanted them. I don't think. I think you can give them enough money to just be like, look, leave.
I just feel like the summer move just feels more natural, even though
like that's what I mean. Like it's almost like a courtesy thing. Like NWSL is like, okay, we'll wait for you, but I think in the reverse, it's always like, no, it's our summer. It's our money. We want it now. Like you're coming now. So, but man, I think Seb Hinds and Karma Scotto are two names that would make me worry as a rival fan, for sure.
And I think like you can obviously tell these are all like the names that we've mentioned do have like a North American bend to them, like, and there's probably plenty of European names that we're not thinking of right away. So I don't know. And
I like the lady from Wolfsburg, but I think she also just went somewhere. Like I think she also just signed on somewhere. The one that was at Wolfsburg, I forget her name.
Yeah, like I mean, so like I don't know, but I know that is, to me, that's tomorrow's problem. That is tomorrow's problem. Nick Cushing, come on, get that old thing back. And honestly, like as long like the season can be salvaged and be called a successful season if City is able to get a domestic cup sweep and qualify for Champions League. Like you get hardware in your trophy case. You say that you get to qualify for Champions League. You say that you get to say that like I at least got to the quarterfinal. I at least got to the knockout rounds of this tournament. So I'm doing okay for myself. Like this isn't the worst thing in the world. So that would it be winning the league? No. Would it be solace and considered successful season? I would. So I'm okay with that.
It's been 20. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I have my Lulz answer. But Marc, you go first.
No, I was just going to ask real quick. It's been since 2022 that City's won a trophy, right?
Yeah, and that was a Leagues Cup.
Right.
Over Chelsea.
Yeah.
Okay, my Lulz coach, Beverly Priestman. Bring those drones.
I don't know.
I don't know. Visibility in the UK might be tough with the constant rain.
Yeah, that drone program's not gonna hit the same.
Visibility might be a little rough.
Oh god!
Need
But
some
I like
high
it.
tech.
I like it.
Could you imagine? It was like, there's some drones over Meadow Park. I don't understand.
My gosh.
All right, so we had an exciting slate of FA Cup results. We just kind of run through them real quick. Manchester United played with their food a little bit against Sunderland, but did come out ahead 3-1 at home. Man City did get a win over Aston Villa 2-0. Chelsea eked it out over Palace 1-0. Arsenal actually was the only home team to lose, and they lost to Liverpool 0-1. I can't really think of anything in this in the Aston Villa match that there's been so much that has happened with Manchester City Women's Football Club that that match
you don't even care no more.
35 lifetimes ago.
Let me tell you what's burned into my memory. That beautiful assist from Mary Fowler to Bunny Shaw.
Yes.
Man City, obviously the season hasn't gone to plan. We can sit here and banter about them. That's cool. But at the end of the day, whenever they play Chelsea, they're going to have Bunny Shaw. They're going to have an informed Mary Fowler. They're going to have Viet Minima. They're going to have maybe Caroline. It's still a scary team. And when they do shit like that, you're just like, see, this is why I'm afraid of y'all.
Yeah, Mary Fowler's been in really, really good form. The United match was kind of weird to watch. I was like, why are y'all playing with with your food? Just
it was one-way traffic. Yeah.
What is happening? This is dumb.
Because they scored early, but then
yeah.
they didn't score again until the end of the half.
Yeah, and then they allowed a goal from Sunderland in the 70th minute, and Ella Toon scored in stoppage time. But Sunderland still had chances, and they could have equalized the match. It seemed to me that there was an element of I don't take this club seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Sunderland is they're right now. They're 6th in Championship. So, and
understandable they're not
so
taken
much.
seriously.
Yeah, exactly. We've talked so much about the difference between even WSL and Championship. So I kind of get why they wouldn't take it seriously, but still, I mean, you can't always take a team for granted, and you still have to show up and do it. But yeah,
Right.
United started off quick, scored. They did what they needed to do.
Marc, what happened at Kings Meadow, and are you or are you not nervous?
From what I can tell, it was one-way traffic. I'm actually trying to look up some stats on this match, but Women's FA Cup, finding any information.
Good luck.
Is,
Good luck.
It's you get a lineup and score, and that's it. But from what I could tell, it was one-way traffic. I think the score kind of flatters Palace. There were definitely some misses I saw in the highlights, Joanna Redding-Cannerid, and I've talked about this before, and I'll keep saying it. Like, ever since the end of October, the goal contributions from her have more or less dried up. But Lauren James scores again. Like, I think at this point she's probably undroppable. And yeah, job done. One thing I will say, the lineup I thought was interesting because she started with Macario, James, and Hamano as the attacking midfield three. And they're all number 10s or number 10 like players. But I do think that's interesting because, like, I could see Hamano. I think Hamano's like kind of on the up right now, especially after her performance in the She Believes Cup in the US. And I think that she can be really useful, like off the ball, with her work rate, her pressing, that sort of thing. So it's interesting seeing her play more and then seeing her in lineups like this because right now, Bon Pastor feels like she's like in her experimental phase almost. It's just like trying different formations, different combinations of players. So I thought that was interesting too.
I will say though, I mean, you got to give some credit to Palace. The last time they played Chelsea, they lost 7-0. This time was just 1-0. And it wasn't like it was a weaker lineup on either end. So still some kudos.
If anything,
to
I feel like it's a weaker Palace side in terms of motivation and, kind of like the desire and the heart that they have right now. So, like, massive credit to them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Deepti, Treb, we got to talk about it.
Do we?
Own goal. That's
what?
Well, I hate those own goals, man.
To be fair, like, I know we didn't talk about it much on the episode last week, but we talked about it before we started recording, where we were talking about I was talking about the run that Arsenal have coming up, where it's like after this match, starting against Everton, they have 4 matches in 12 days, which are 2 Champions League matches against Real Madrid on top of a league match against Liverpool. So, I mean, I even said then, I said, if you give me the option of which one I want to lose, it sounds crazy. I was like, we'll probably lose the FA Cup match because that's just what we do. Because, we have 2 matches against Liverpool, short time. We tend to split matches when we have that happening. And I think much like we talked about with City, for Arsenal, their concern is making sure that they are in Champions League next year. Point blank, period. And I think, and again, I keep saying this every week because I feel like people forget the deeper into the season we go, but like Jonas started the season as the manager. We were not a good team in terms of talent. We were not playing well. We were in a bad place mentally. We were in a bad place motivationally. And so Renee came in and took over a massive project. And I only say that to say that like this is going to take time. And I think that kind of the way that Tom was saying, where with Gareth Taylor gone now, he's kind of has these different expectations. Like that was the feeling for me when Jonas left. I very much was like, okay, cool. The mission now is to just get into the top 3, see if we can at least salvage the embarrassment that we were experiencing in the Champions League after the Bayern match and try to at least look better for the season. And I think we've done that. I hate losing the way we did for sure. Mm-hmm. I think Daphne Van Domslaar has been playing phenomenally this season. And she like the whole team, I think the last couple of matches have hit a rough patch. And it was just an unfair way to concede a goal in what was a match that was absolute. I said it the last time Liverpool played, and I'm saying it again. That match was ass. Like that was that. If it was not an Arsenal match, I would have turned it off. Like it was ass. It was Arsenal had 6 shots, 1 on target. Liverpool had 7 shots, 3 on target. So 13 total shots the entire match. There you go. I will say 2 things. We are entering, in my opinion, Renee's toughest stretch because when you combine the Liverpool loss with how we looked against West Ham, it's very much a different looking team. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm someone that can see, I use my eyes not to just say like, what are the results and what are the stats, but like, how does a team look when they play, win or lose? And I think that we've just looked really tired and we've looked really bad the last few matches. Which kind of brings me to my next point, which is I think Arsenal women have outgrown Meadow Park. It was something that I skeeted about. It's something that has been on my mind throughout this season. I think Arsenal women have outgrown it in the sense that every match that they've been able to look incredibly vulnerable in has been at Meadow Park. And I think it's very much a sense that we talked about with United kind of playing with their food. I think it's just a mentality thing where Arsenal get on the smaller stage and they're like, okay, well, it's kind of hard to get up for any match when there's only 3,000 fans there. And that's a sellout for Meadow Park, right? Mm-hmm. Compared to what they usually get when they play at Emirates, which is 50, 60,000 fans. Mm-hmm. So, it's hard to look at that and say this is a cup match when you have 2,000 people there and you're kind of on a small pitch in this, in this kind of glorified training setting. So I think there's something to be said for Arsenal kind of needing to go into these matches when they're at Meadow Park with a little bit more of a mentality to say like, okay, we can't let ourselves slip. We can't look at this as kind of a training match. Like we have to look at this as what it is, which is an important match. But I think as a whole, I think they've outgrown Meadow Park. I would like to see them move to the Emirates full time as best they can, or do like City did and build a new women's stadium. Like just make it, here in the States with NWSL, we figure a big stadium is about 22-ish thousand. I think for Arsenal, for a team their size, I think if they build their own stadium, make it about 30, 40,000-ish. I think that'd be good.
Yeah, at least 30.
Yeah, 25, 30,000. I think that'd be good.
Consistently hitting 30,000.
But it was just a bad match. I am interested to see how Everton looks because that'll be on the road in a league match. We have to win it. I want to see how we look. I
think that's gonna be tough
if we can bounce
too.
back. So
I do too.
Yeah.
Deepti, I as someone who has been to both settings for an Arsenal match, like how do you feel about what Treb just stated about Arsenal?
Actually, I haven't been to Meadow Park actually.
Okay.
Because it is a bit further outside of like the London City area. But I've been to other women's matches where it is at like the smaller one. Like I've been to Kings Meadow for Chelsea, and it's kind of funny because I think we were talking about how it's the opposite for them, how they play worse at Stamford Bridge and they play better at their smaller.
We touched on it last week. Yeah.
And it's just so interesting to me, the vibe. Like Arsenal, obviously, as a club, like really puts an effort into getting people to go to like the Emirates, getting people to go to their women's matches. The fan base travels super, super well. So even at away matches, you can hear them on TV. You can hear like the presence when you're in the stadium, even sitting in the home stands. Like they're really loud. So I think Treb, that is such a good point. Like they're now just used to like that bigger atmosphere, and maybe they need kind of that boost of several tens of thousands, and just like having a few thousand is not enough anymore.
You also made a point on an earlier episode, I think actually when we were talking about the Chelsea thing, right? DT, where you made the point about like tennis players who, playing in the bigger stadium versus small stadium, it's an adjustment. I've also heard, so college basketball, it's March Madness, right? The final games are played in like football stadiums, and so those sight lines are way different for when you're trying to take shots and so forth. I think the different stadia for Chelsea, for Arsenal, for whoever, I think the different stadium messes with their spatial awareness, and so I wonder if that's part of part of why Arsenal struggle at Meadow Park, because I mean at this point they play most of their games at the Emirates, right? Like that's their field for all intents and purposes. So
yeah, and that's what I say. I think they've outgrown Meadow Park because they only play there when they can't play at Emirates because of scheduling conflicts, or because of, I guess, what was it, the Champions League rule where it's like, or something like that we were talking about earlier, where some of their games had to be at Meadow Park for that. But
yeah, it was a clash, right?
Yeah. But they typically, now they're at a point where they typically try to play at Emirates as much as possible. And that's why I say I think they need to do whatever they can. I don't know how that would work schedule-wise, but I think as a club, it would be wise for them as a club to just say, look, we need to get the women as close to all of their games at Emirates as possible, because I just feel like, especially this season, you look at all of their games at Meadow Park have just been these lethargic, kind of like dreary, blood performances, and it just very much looks like a club that just can't mentally get up for that. And yeah, a lot of that is on the manager, and I think Renee needs to handle that. But also, again, it's just hard for a team that's used to playing, in front of 50, 60,000 to then play an FA Cup quarterfinal match against Liverpool in front of 2,000, 3,000.
Yeah.
I will say real quick, I was impressed with the amount of Liverpool fans. At least it sounded like there were a lot of Liverpool fans at the game. And, I really like that there was like actually a really solid atmosphere for an FA Cup match. Obviously, if this were like the men's game, we would take that for granted. But I think that, it's good to see that. Good to see like the fans traveling for the team and obviously like treating it like a big game. So, and the team responded. So good for them.
Poor Daphne.
Oh man, okay. So I do think the own goal itself is unlucky. I hate that goalkeepers get. I mean, I understand why. Obviously, it went in off the keeper, right? But it was such a wicked shot.
It was a wicked shot. Yeah. It shouldn't. Yeah. It is an own goal technically, but really, like, that was a great shot.
It's just so cruel. But what's not cruel though, I don't know, man. Daphne early on, like she looked like she was trying to give away some goals. Like there were a couple of moments in the highlights where I was like, "Girl," like it was like so funky. Do you know what I'm talking about, Treb?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, she's been having some rough performances the last couple matches. Like you saw it against West Ham, you saw it against Liverpool, but it's hard to tell how much of that is her and how much is that is her trying to navigate the defense right now, right? Because again, I think, like I said before, you're talking about an Arsenal team that looks tired. Like you look at Emily Fox, a lot of times she looks exhausted. You look at Leah Williams, like she looks exhausted.
Yeah.
And the only ones that ever seem to have energy is like Katie McCabe, who seems to be running on pure hate half the time. So, but now that they have Amanda Ilestead coming back, hopefully that eases some pressure. But yeah, it's just been a run of a couple bad matches. Like I said, that's why I think, back to back at Meadow Park, I don't think it was the home field advantage it should have been. And we'll see how we do against Everton on the road, because I wouldn't be surprised if you're looking at, a lopsided Arsenal. I mean, I also wouldn't be surprised if we lose as Arsenal. Like I've seen both sides of this coin, but like, I just feel like with how Renee's been all year, I have more faith that they're going to come out and put together like a 4-5 goal win. So,
yeah, especially with Madrid on the horizon, you kind of want to put it.
That's what I'm saying. Like I think for Arsenal, the focus is twofold: getting Champions League next year and making as good a run as you can in Champions League this year.
Okay.
Do you have any more thoughts? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say, this sets up the semifinals for mid-April. It's gonna be Sunday, April 13th. It's kind of annoying. Both of them are scheduled to be at the same time, which doesn't make sense to me.
I feel like that's maybe not like officially scheduled yet, or is it?
Okay, fair enough. Maybe not. This is just what I see in the tentative schedule, but
Gotcha.
I feel like that wouldn't make sense for them to do that. So hopefully that's not true. But looks like we've got a Manchester derby, City versus United, and then Chelsea versus Liverpool as the other semifinal.
Yep, we are fortunate once again with the draw. Although I mean, like Liverpool just beat Arsenal on the road, so I should not be talking too confident at all. But no, I mean, like obviously, like between Liverpool, Man U, and Man City, you'd rather get Liverpool. Would have been fun if we got City again.
I was gonna say, imagine if you got City again.
Well, we could still get City. Like
that's true. You could have another one. I guess it's.
That would be funny. But I mean, at least it's not the usual top four, I guess, in the semis.
Yeah.
We got a little spice.
United is still. They can still repeat, so I think that would be kind of cool. Actually, yeah, nice to. I mean, it's the same top like 3 of the 4 that we see now in the league. So, still strong teams. It's probably going to be one of them, but maybe Liverpool will have again like a new interim head coach boost and can pull an upset.
That would be amazing. I actually wouldn't mind seeing that.
Coming from the team who used to play them, that is good. Yes.
Listen, we got a lot of fish to fry. So
Fair enough. Yes, that's not what you're concerned with right now. I get it.
Not at the moment. Not at the moment.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know if we had any more thoughts on the FA Cup. But we have lost our host Thom, not permanently, of course. His computer died.
But it's good that we're talking about Chelsea anyway, because
Yes.
Marc, you can now give us the Chelsea news that happened earlier today.
Yeah, man. So
because I know you're probably happy about that.
Yes, very happy. So Erin Cuthbert has extended her deal. It was due to run out this summer, but she has extended a further 2 seasons to 2027. And yeah, the video, God, these social media teams, man, like it was kind of dramatic, you know. It kind of looked like they were setting this up for oh, she's out, but actually, wait, am I still? Are you also hearing me? Okay, my phone. Yeah, it's but yeah, it was just like a really sweet video showing some of her highlights, showing from, you know, when she first played for the club as a 17-year-old. What I also think is interesting, though, so Chelsea have announced a few extensions since the beginning of the calendar year, right? There are a few players whose contracts were due to run out at 2025. So you had Millie Bright, who's extended, I think it's an option exercise to 2026. Gul Wrighton before her, she had an option that was exercised to extend to 2026. There's another player, though, a pretty key player, whose deal runs out in 2025, and that's Joanna Redding-Kanerud. And now she also has an option to extend to 2026, but, you know, obviously that hasn't been announced yet, and it's like 2 months left until the end of the season. So, like, I'm very curious as to what the thinking is there, both on her end and Bon Pastor's side. Because my thing is this, right? Like, Bon Pastor, I don't think she's going to be loyal to players that she didn't sign, right? Like, anybody who she inherited, I think it's almost like it's fair game that you might be on the way out. And some of these players are older. Like Millie Bright, I think, is 31 or 2. Gul Wrighton, I think, is 30. And like that's not super old, but you know, Fran Kirby left the club. She was like 30, 31 when she left. So, you know, and like Chelsea are always trying to sign players. So, you know, I think Bon Pastor probably has an idea of the kind of profiles, I guess, that she would want. And I'm curious. I guess what I find interesting is Kanerud has played a lot this season. You know, even though the goals and assists have kind of dried up, like she's still kind of held down the right wing position. I don't think she's been bad. I think she does a lot of work on and off the ball. You know, she carries the ball a lot. She's often like a one-man counterattack. You know, she's often pressing as well. But you know, maybe you let her walk and open up that spot for like a big signing. So I don't know. I'm curious.
That's a good point. Yeah, I guess I never thought about if coaches inherit players, like unless they really, really stand out. They'd probably already have in mind kind of who they want or like the exact type of player they want, and they'll build their team around that.
Well, that's also
I
super
don't
curious.
think.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, I don't think Jericho will stay. Especially
don't think
given
she's
her
gonna stay
latest like
either.
run of form. I don't think either. I think it'll be better for both parties if she goes somewhere else.
So you think
And
she's on the way out?
And hearing that from Marc has also got me curious about Sam Kerr's status, because I know she's out while her partner, you know, while they're doing the parenting thing right now. But I mean, you look at Chelsea without her, they don't seem to be missing a beat. And if, you know, I mean, we mentioned her name earlier and Trinity Rodman, like if Chelsea are interested in getting these kind of players, like I'm just saying, like if you know, players like Trinity Rodman and Sophia Wilson and like all these players are like on the radars of these European teams, like, and if you're telling me that Sonia Bon Pastor is coming in saying I'm not going to have that much loyalty to players I've inherited, like you look at Sam Kerr again, like they've gone through the season without her, they've looked well, they haven't really needed her in a sense of like, you know, they're dying for her to return. So I'm just interested, like, do you see them possibly looking at her and saying, okay, we can get, you know, a sizable fee for her. We can get something for her and we can just cut ties and say, look, you've been great for the club. You're a legend, but like time to move on. And how would you like, how do you think fans would perceive that? Because I think a lot of fans, even though I think that it would be the right football move, I think a lot of fans would be very, very, very upset at that.
Yeah. So I think it's important to say it would depend on the fan or the person, and I say that because ever since the Sam Kerr's trial concluded, yeah. Well, and so ever since her trial concluded, right? Like obviously we all talked about it, we know how we feel, but there's a lot of people who are like, oh, get this racist off my team, blah blah blah. We all know who it is that's saying shit like that. It's a lot of comments though. It's a lot of comments. A lot of people in the Australian media as well, asking questions like, will Sam Kerr retain the captaincy when she comes back to the national team? Instead of asking questions like, who's the coach going to be? Like real funny stuff, right? So, but yes, I think like.
I feel like the captaincy question is more again that if you're asking that because you think Mary Fowler is like rising, that's a different conversation. But if you're just asking it because you're still tripping off about the case that's already concluded, I feel like that's crazy.
Well, I think it's the latter, at least from what I can tell.
I don't know. Like obviously, I'm not super in tapped with Australian news cycles. I try to avoid my own news cycle out here.
Right.
Well,
right.
I'm gonna keep it 110.
But I think for the people who know ball, they would be upset. But no, I was just looking up. So Sam Kerr's contract runs until 2026, and she turns 32 in September. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think they would this summer, but
I think they would. I don't know. Now that you said like the way that you described Bon Pastor, I feel like Sam Kerr is the perfect first player to be like, I'm getting something for you in your league.
So I just want to be clear, like she didn't come out and say that.
No, I know you. Like, obviously, no coach is ever going to come out and say that.
Right.
But you can get the vibes of a coach of
exactly.
Because we see it in American sports all the time, where new coaches come in, new general managers come in, entire front offices change. Like it's just the nature of sports. You want your people, you want your players, you want your identity. Yeah. So like. And like I said, it would be different if Chelsea were struggling this year and it's like, man, we really miss Sam Kerr, but like they're not missing a beat. And I think Sonia is the kind of coach who's looking at this situation saying, I don't really need her. Like if some team wants to come up and offer me like, 600,000, 700,000, I'm taking that deal.
I'll tell you what, I would say January 2026. I think that's the most likely time for Sam Kerr to leave, right? Still get a fee for her. But also, like you've given it time where it's like, okay, like you've actually played her, seen her in your team and all that. But I mean, you go back to when she got hurt. Chelsea signed Myra Ramirez for a then record fee right after she got hurt. So you could argue that they were future proofing then, and now, yeah, it's. I think 2026 is going to be a big year because I. Personally, I think Millie Bright's on the way out. Gora Wrighton has kind of already been not preferred, let's say, like ever since the new year, ever since she's had, and specifically, I think ever since she's had Baltimore and Neem Charles available, like Gora Wrighton's just she's not feeling her as much anymore. So it seems like anyway. So it's interesting times. I think part of the reason why Chelsea hired Bon Pastor is because she has that like respect and personality to be like to tell these big players, "Hey, time's up, dog."
Because she's Toy Story Andy. That's what you're saying. She got that Buzz. She got that Buzz Lightyear. She's like, I don't need you no more. Wow. I don't need you no more. I've got these new toys to play with. You're good.
That is a brilliant metaphor. That might be the metaphor of this entire podcast.
Sonia Ben Pastor, Toy Story Andy. Book it.
Sorry guys, technical difficulties on this end, but did we talk about Taylor Hinds after
we have not? We just got done talking about Aaron Cuthbert's re-signing extension.
The BBC reported that Taylor Hinds, while she was injured, was subjected to, quote, sexually inappropriate comments. I guess there were, and this was while she was down on the pitch with an injury.
During the Liverpool Arsenal match,
during the Liverpool Arsenal match, yes, at Meadow Park, and I guess she was able to speak with the refs, and the refs were able to speak with some stadium officials, and the individual was tossed out. But I know that Taylor Hinds is a very attractive woman, and I also know that she was at work trying to do her job. Like, maybe let's not harass people like at all.
We don't need to be catcalling people at work, let alone when they're on the pitch injured in a moment of like complete vulnerability and feeling, at one of their lowest, probably.
Right.
I'm sure in that instance they don't want to have someone from the stands kind of calling it. I did not know that happened. That's crazy. I'm glad they got the person that did it though. The one positive of Meadow Park is like you're not going to say that and really have anywhere to hide.
Yeah.
From what I read, it seemed like they acted pretty quickly and got him out of there pretty quickly. So fair play.
They'll never be seen again.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So Meadow Park, Emirates, Anfield, either of them, all of them, any of them.
Yeah. I just want to say, as like coming from a women's perspective, it's like you said, not just, I mean, catcalling, getting comments anywhere is horrible, like on the street, whatever it is. But at work, come on. Like, they're still doing their job. Like, you may think it's entertainment. You're there to watch them, but they're at work. First of all, just don't do it anywhere.
Number
Don't do it
one.
anywhere. That's number one.
Yeah.
But I feel like have a little more decorum in like more place. It's just it's annoying. That's what it is.
You think about who was probably attending this match, right? Probably a lot of girls, probably a lot of young girls, like, and they had to.
You don't need to be
subjected
setting that example either.
Yeah.
Her parents were there. She later, like she said, that like she had to talk to her parents about what was going on. Like,
Jesus,
that's gross. That's super gross. Do better, guys. Do better.
And I also want to make this point. I don't think it's a coincidence that another Black woman is being subjected to this kind of treatment.
Boom, boom.
It's just something about Black women, women of color.
It's been a really bad start to the year in the WSL for the women of color being treated in a manner that is not good. I mean, it's not good. I'm trying to watch my words here.
I think like people of color, and in this case, women of color, are seen as like, I feel like, easier targets almost, So, it's not to say like it can't happen to a white woman, but it just feels like this is something that.
Well, it's like Tom said about Chloe Kelly, right? A lot of those players are their national heroes. It's why Leah Williamson, as much as I love her, she has a long leash with what she gets away with at Arsenal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these are English players that they feel like, okay, these are our heroes. They're going to always get the longer leash. Whereas,
Taylor Hinds,
Jamaican Bunny Shaw and Jamaican Taylor Hinds and, African, whoever, like, like they're not going to care and they're going to abuse them. And we've seen with England before, let it get bad enough, they're going to turn on their own. That are of color, right? Like we saw it with Saka and Bellingham, and so, this is who they are, unfortunately, and that's what we got to keep bringing up to make sure that they stop being who they are, because this is unacceptable.
Yep,
correct. I think we teased it a little bit, but there was a Trinity Rodman quote floating out in the airwaves today, saying that. Something to the effect of, at some point, she's gonna have to go abroad.
That's an interesting way of phrasing it too. She said, not like at some point I want to go abroad. At some point, I feel like the need to go abroad. At some point, I'm gonna have to go abroad. Like, why?
It's you know what else? That's so interesting too.
Like, I mean, because it's just like, who is holding her to the standard that you need to go abroad to prove what to who?
Well, I don't know. I feel like it's more of a personal. I will say, like, for me, I've always felt like Trinity was going to go abroad eventually.
Oh, me too. Yeah, no.
I just feel like she has that like globetrotter kind of personality, right? Like,
she's a global superstar. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so funny to me, like how far we've come in 10 years, where before U.S. women's players who were abroad basically were ignored, and now it's like
non grata.
Yeah, and now it's like, oh, you play for insert big name, like you're in the Champions League, like all of a sudden now that matters. I mean, like obviously when you have Emma Hayes at the helm, that probably would matter more too with that. But no, I think the players themselves actually are intrigued by the challenge of playing in WSL or Europe.
Yeah,
I would think that for her, she would probably want to go somewhere where the competition level is akin to NWSL, which is probably why I'm saying no matter how long Michelle Kang's pockets are, she's not going to Lyon, because like that is a 3-team league. She's probably not going to go to Italy.
They can't
definitely not going to Spain. Like Germany would be like, after the WSL, I think Germany would be the next biggest.
I think
league.
Germany's interesting. I think Germany could be a real,
and I think like I also think that like just with her ties with Red Bull and with her,
that's what I was thinking. Is
with
like
her ties with also with her ties with Adidas. I think that she's going to end up going somewhere where Adidas is the kid sponsor.
Yeah, and she's been doing a lot of collaborations with like Eurosport, so like F1, motor racing, a lot of things like that to raise her profile abroad the last couple years. And I think you're right. Like, I would not be shocked if it's like Wolfsburg after, because again, Wolfsburg is about to lose from, if what we're hearing is true, Wolfsburg could potentially be losing, 3 to 4 of their own winger attackers over the next year and a half. And so they would absolutely have the money and the space to just be like, hey, Trinity, come over here and like continue that Adidas, as they call it out there, that Adidas growth with the Red Bull.
Yeah, that's a good show.
That's how they say it out there, ain't it, DZ?
They do.
That's what I'm saying. See, I'm worldly, Marc. I be traveling.
No. It's just funny. It's just funny because you're absolutely right. Like in Trinidad, Adidas. Yeah.
But no, I mean, obviously, we all want Trinity Rodman on our team. Like, this is not a secret, right? Like, we all want it. We would all pay. Let's see, Naomi went for $1 million. I would pay $2.5 million right now to have Trinity Rodman on Arsenal, and I wouldn't even think twice about it. Like, I wouldn't even think twice about it.
Yeah. Any team would be stupid not to try to get her, and like, she would obviously make any team she goes to better. So yeah, whoever gets her is going to be lucky. That's it.
And I think that she's one of those wingers that like is gonna do the defensive work. Like, not only like is she like so dynamic going towards the net, but like she's also like a player that doesn't really have a governor on their engine, so like on their motor. So she's gonna go, and she's gonna be like, if you ask her to defend, she will defend. Like, now I will say this. If any of those European coaches make her a fullback, I'm catching a flight. That's
what I was gonna say. Like, I think stylistically, she, out of the 3 of our teams, I think stylistically she fits with Arsenal more, just because of how we do play. Like, we like our defensive backs to push up, but then we also like our wingers to track back. Like, we're very confusing in the way we play like that. So I think just how she plays, she would naturally fit in that winger role for us. But again, like, I think Trinity, I don't know, like, she strikes me as a player that very much is like, I'm going to forge my own path and I'm going to do things on my own terms. And so like, I would be careful about like doing the whole, like, okay, she's the next Chelsea player, she's the next City player, because they've got the money. Like, I could see her going to Germany for sure. I could see her going to a team that like might surprise us for sure. But I would love to see her in the WSL just to see the physicality and the smoke. Because she's always on smoke, and like, to have that energy in the WSL would be so much fun. So much fun. It would suck to play against, but like, oh my God, she'd be getting in. Oh my God, she'd be the next Katie McCabe, I think.
Yeah.
I think for me, if she doesn't come to City, like, I immediately want her to go to Bayern. Like, because like I don't like, I think that like I probably speak for everyone on this podcast, is like, if she doesn't sign for my team,
away from the league, away from the league.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why my kind of my hope is just okay, she's gonna go to Bayern, and I'll just keep that as something. But yes, all three of our teams would be very, very fortunate to have.
The Red Bull's point was a good shout though, because you're right. I didn't think about that till you said it. She's very much over the last year and a half has a lot of Red Bull collabs. Like I said, a lot of Eurosport collabs, motorsport stuff. You can tell she's a player that's been raising her profile for the jump to Europe. And so, I could see Germany.
Even the interview podcast where she talked about the whole situation with the data, so on, she was wearing New York Red Bulls, which I was confused about at the time, but now I get it. Okay,
yeah.
So, that brand loyalty, she knows how to get the bag.
Yeah,
kind of. I don't know if it's been confirmed or whatever, but the rumor that she's now dating Ben Shelton, he's a big tennis global superstar. So if she's with him, people are gonna know her name around the world as well. Everyone knows him now.
She's ready. World, she's making the moves. She's on that Rihanna arc. Here we go.
That's actually a great.
Here we go. I'm on it tonight, man. I don't know. The analogies are on point. They're just coming to me. I don't know.
All right, so let's take a look towards the weekend. We do have a final amongst our matches this weekend. So there are actually only
4 matches.
There's 4.
There's only 4 matches.
Well, 4 league matches and then the
4 league matches.
Yes.
4
league matches, playing? 1 League Cup final.
Because it's those midweek matches that we played.
Oh, so okay,
West Ham and Leicester.
Leicester, yeah.
They played there.
Yep. So, on Friday we have Everton hosting Arsenal. Also on Friday we have Liverpool hosting Manchester United. On Saturday, that is the Subway Eat Fresh Cold Cut Combo Cup for the foot-long trophy with cookies match final between Chelsea and Man City. Sunday, Villa will visit Palace, and Tottenham will host Brighton. Tottenham. I'm not calling them Spurs. I'm not calling them Tottenham Hotspurs. I'm calling them Tottenham. It's Mama call them Tottenham. I'm gonna call them Tottenham.
They're just lucky I don't call them shit. So.
Yeah, right.
Ooh, that Arsenal just kicked up.
I think the Friday matches are super interesting. Actually,
yeah, both of them.
Yeah, that. That Everton Arsenal match, how Deepti, how nervous are you about that match?
Not super nervous, honestly. I'm 50%, and basically kind of the trend that we've had this season, especially since Renee's been around. If we've had a bad performance, the next one is usually much better, and they kind of kick it into gear. And having lost to Liverpool 1-0, I feel like the Arsenal we could see now are going to score, like what Treb said, we're going to score 5, 6, we could. However, we've seen Everton's run lately, and they've obviously gotten way better from the beginning of the year, and they are playing at home. It's a much smaller stadium, like we said. I think their max capacity in this one is 2,500, and so depending on the vibes and the atmosphere, it could also go south for us, and we could see another draw or another. I'm not gonna say a loss. I really hope. I don't think that's gonna happen. But a draw would also obviously be very disappointing. I'm hoping they just run up the score and they turn it around, and it's one of those where it's okay, didn't play super well. Now we're gonna kick it up a notch, show who we are again. But yeah, a little bit nervous.
I feel like the nerves just come from the fact that you have to win to keep pace with the other teams, causing a claustrophobia around us, right? Not so much nervous for the match itself, just nervous. If you tell me for sure Chelsea and City are losing, or City and Man U are losing, right? Then this match don't matter, right? Because you're just oh my God, the nerves come from if we'd have a draw, if we lose, we need them to also slip. Otherwise, we're kind of in a bad spot.
And the Liverpool United match is basically at the same time, and so that'll be interesting to watch in like tandem.
And we need
Um,
Liverpool to like
see,
win that match.
we need Liverpool to like win now again. Yes.
And it's interesting that you said about the smaller stadium, because that match is actually being played at Anfield versus Prenton Park, where they usually play. So I will be in, like, I believe that the only other match that Liverpool has played at Anfield this season was against Man City. So I do find it interesting that they're playing both of the Manchester teams at Anfield.
I wonder if it's because it's very close, very easy to get from one to the other. So for away fans also, it was probably they were able to fill it more.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's just that, but yeah.
So yeah, those are very interesting matches. I am looking at that Villa Crystal Palace match on Sunday. It's like I know that listen, I know it's schlock. I know it's bad. I get that.
It might not be bad though.
I was gonna say,
and there are like
okay.
there are consequences to this match. Like,
no, that's why it might not be bad. That's what I mean. Like, this is an important match. I'm just saying, I'm like, because like, you know, as a adopted Palace supporter, I'm just like, this is not good, because like I don't know if they have I just don't know if they have the juice. But they need this win. They need this win.
They need the win.
So is this like, if Palace loses, is that it?
Pretty much. I mean, this is essentially like a 6-pointer. Yeah, like they are 4 points back off Villa, and this would put them 7 points back, losing. Whereas the win would get them that 1 point back, and Villa, like, you know, that puts pressure.
This match is important for Arroyo too, for Villa, because they haven't won in the league since Arroyo became their manager. Like that's like,
yeah.
What's the opposite of new manager bounce?
Yeah,
right.
Right.
Well, they had that with interim manager, and then they got Arroyo, and
yeah. I mean, we didn't talk about it when we talked about Gareth Taylor. Honestly, like, if Sean Goder was still at Man City, he probably would have been named manager, like maybe interim manager, versus Nick Cushing after Gareth Taylor left, just because he was the coach that had the most time on task there. And you kind of wonder, like, well, what was the impetus for him leaving, and all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, Aston Villa, like, they need these points, like, not just from a standpoint of like to stay up, but from the standpoint of like, okay, we just brought in this new coach and we have 1 win. We need something to believe in.
They
Palace
have not
have the new manager bounce. Sorry, I'm just saying Palace could have the new manager bounce finally. That's right. I forgot they fired Laura Kaminsky. So
yeah, and like I said before, like, I didn't think their performance was like, there wasn't anything from that performance where I took it and go, oh, they could use that against Villa, right? But yeah, maybe there's a little more belief in their ranks now that they at least like kept it close with Chelsea. Also, I was just looking at these Aston Villa results. They haven't scored a goal in the league since the beginning of February. 4 matches. The 1-0, 3-0, 2-0, 2-0. Like, ooh.
Palace, you have a chance, Palace.
I mean, it's in front of them
again now.
I know. Now you see. Look, this is the Arsenal fan in me. Now I'm just like, oh, there's the glimmer of hope.
The glutton for punishment. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. The glimmer of hope. Let's put all of our emotions into that basket right now. I mean, no, but I think let me see. Let me look at what does the rest of the season look like for Villa and for Palace.
So I have Villa's schedule up.
Yeah, so like for Villa, after this Palace match, they're home against United, away to Liverpool, away to Tottenham, home against Arsenal, and then they get, West Ham, Brighton. But like that's a tough. That's not a
good run of fixtures, and like, yeah, this is one that you need to win.
And then you have Palace,
like, ensure that you're going to stay up.
After the Villa match, Palace have Everton away, home against Arsenal, away to Chelsea, but then they get home against West Ham, home against Leicester, and then they end the season away to City. So like they have a couple tough matches, but they don't have a rough run like Villa do. Like they could actually beat Villa, kind of go on a mini run before they face Arsenal, and like they could be in a position to really have the pressure on Villa to like have to win in the middle of their run, which is not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, see now I have hope again. God damn it. Palace, please. Palace, please.
And you know what?
And
to
then
be
there's
fair,
the final.
Yeah, sorry, Tom. I was just gonna say the same thing. Like all the matches, all the league matches could be very exciting this weekend because
Mhm.
Tottenham Brighton, there's only 2 points separating them. Brighton is currently in 5th with 19 points. Tottenham is in 7th with 17. Obviously big match. I mean, it's like neither of them are close to that 4th place or like even getting to Champions League or anything, but being
Pride is on the
mid-table,
line.
yeah, pride is on the line. Being closer to the big four is on the line. And Brighton, you know, considering how strongly they started the season, they'll want to end strongly as well. And so hopefully they'll be, and then Tottenham's. They'll do what the Spurs do. They've been who knows what. Basically, yeah. I would love to see them go even further down the table, but that could be a very, very exciting match.
Agreed.
I have no idea what to expect from Saturday. Like, not a clue.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you guys are more than me and Charlie are going to do a watch along for Shades of Blue of the match.
Yeah.
Please join us. I
might
have
order,
no
might get some Subway.
Yeah, exactly.
If they don't have a foot long at the trophy presentation, recipes have been lost.
Recipes have in fact been lost.
No, they actually need to do like the Pop-Tart Bowl. They need to take a foot long, throw that bitch in the oven, and have it come out the other side toasted. Legit. Call whoever you need to call from the Pop-Tart Bowl and get that handled. If you don't know what the Pop-Tart Bowl is in England,
please Google it.
Look up college football Pop-Tart Bowl, and I promise you, if there's any country that knows how to do ridiculously insane mascot competitions, it's America. I promise. It's what we do, among other things.
Well, I think we're gonna get out of here. You can definitely find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all of the digital streaming platforms. We are there. Please hit the follow button to stay up to date when new episodes drop. Leave a rating and review. It helps with that little algorithm, that a whole bunch of math that I don't understand. But there might be an astrophysicist amongst us that might understand it. I'm not going to point any names or name anything by that. But because we'd love to hear your feedback on that. And also, you know, bump the algorithm up. There are 12 teams, 6 matches, 4 hosts. You are listening to the 12th. See y'all next week.